Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, and it is April 4th, YC125, and this is the Eve Universe Show! Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome if you're new. Thank you for coming. If you are returning, thank you so much for being here. Either way, make sure you like the video if you find any of this interesting or fun, and if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel, so that way you can get all of my videos when they come out, including the live streams. But yeah, let's go ahead and start to jump into the news. I have been gone. Oh yeah, also, first of news, I now have my new t-shirt, and I'm drinking out of my new Convocation of Empyreans mug, which are just some of the merchandise that are now available on my merch store, which, if you cannot see it for some reason, let me know. For some reason, some people can't see the merch store. Maybe if you don't have your payment information put into YouTube or something. I don't know exactly what it is, but if you don't, let me know, because some people just don't see it. If you are interested. Enough shtick. We have so much to cover. I've been gone. My son had spring break, so I had to do that, and I was hoping to like work on some stuff in the background, and I did work on some stuff in the background, but it was mostly just running sites, doing the event, and coordinating things otherwise. Didn't get to do much of the stuff about like improving the stream or whatever, but I do have my new ADHD meds, so hopefully that means that positive things are coming for everybody. So I think that the first thing that we should cover is actually just an update on the Shadow War. There we go. Okay, so here we are with the current up-to-date Shadow War stats. So as you can see, basically there's a few things that we can take from this. The Gallente are currently beating out the MR, but not the Mimitar when it comes to the relay tech, and that the Caldari has taken a pretty sizable lead at this point on the Stellar Research Tech. But looking through this graph, we kind of see a big picture here. So before we begin anything, it's worth noting that the Gallente have twice as much work as anyone else to do. They have to do both the Stellar Transmuter and the relay tech. They need to complete them both before they can begin the construction project. The Caldari only need to complete the Stellar Research, and the Amara Mimitar only need to complete the relay research. One of the reasons why you see such a low percentile within these areas versus these areas, or, you know, these two, is because here we have 3 people competing over a technology that only one group has, and over here we have 2 people competing over something that 2 groups have. So there's more space and less people competing for these sites, which becomes incredibly important because these sites are extraordinarily dangerous for various reasons, which we will probably talk about. Both high sec and low sec come with their own particular threats. But what we see here actually, based on our calculations, we did a spike, which we thought was fairly okay, but it's almost unnoticeable on here total. But when we put in, I think it was 30 turn-ins, and we got 0.4%. So we figured out that we're pretty sure that this first jump of the Cal Mill, which was about 1.2%, was roughly 1,000 data cores, which gives us the estimate that the overall, to accomplish the entire mission, would be roughly 100,000 data cores. As of right now, they sell for somewhere between 20 to 40 million ISK each on the market, with possibly even more if you try to piece them together with just the pieces and the blueprints. They're worth quite a bit on the market, considering the fact that 10 data cores is only worth about 100 to 200 million ISK on average per turn-in like loot. If you're just buying these data cores outright, you're going to be paying at least 4 times as much. I think you're only going to get a 1/10, really, of the value that you get that you put in back. I can't remember if those numbers are exactly right, but it's like you get some of your money back, obviously, if you just buy them outright, but certainly you are spending money to turn in progress for sure, just based on the value of everything. That said, here we see a jump of 4%. It's from 24 to 28. Yeah, 4% jump. That's what it was. Which we calculated, like, if you were just to put an ISK value on that, this little bump right here is a 80 billion ISK bump, by the way. That's pretty rough. Now, we have heard, or I have heard, that the person who did this, or that was mostly involved in this, it was a combination of just lots and lots of farming within the Minmatar territory, and also, well, yeah, it's basically they could have gotten a Titan, but instead they got this up vertical line on this graph, is basically what it boils down to. But yeah, apparently a lot of this was in fact farmed by them, but they did buy a bunch to make up the difference. But it's a very very impressive flex by the Caldari. But outside of these two major spikes, you can see that actually the Gallente and the Caldari have been pretty much neck and neck on their overall progress, just their normal progress. Likewise, the Gallente and the Amarr, the Gallente have slowly started to outpace the Amarr. So what that means is that overall it looks like the Caldari are on track to definitely be the first people out of phase 1, with the Minmatar being close behind them, because remember, the Gallente have to finish both. But as far as overall progress goes, the Gallente have definitely made more overall percent, have done more. And that's kind of important because there is a third phase that everyone has to go through, which is the construction phase. Yeah, Amarr just wants pew pew on Minmatar and Aga. It is true. There has been a lot of conflict. And so a lot of the Amarr loyalists have been focusing more on fighting in the war zone, whereas different loyalists from different sides have been doing different things. Why are all the people on the Caldari side? Is it because of the standings? People often tend towards Caldari because of Jita, because of RP reasons, because, there's a lot of reasons why Caldari end up being powerful. But it's worth noting that, what we're seeing here on the Caldari side is effectively a wallet flex, right? And it is true that of the 4 empires, the Caldari loyalists are by far the most wealthy, okay? So that's true. But the Caldari also do have a very, we're going to say, fanatically loyal RP group. It's actually tough to say, in my opinion, who has the more fanatically loyal RP group, the Caldari, the Amarr, or the Minmatar. But I know that the Amarr have by far the longest lasting RP fanatical group in that sort of sense, but they aren't always focused on these kinds of things with Pi or whatever. Trigs. It's true. Well, we've got sleeper agents all over. Wait, I mean, they've got sleeper agents all over the place. No, but the Minmatar loyalists are definitely willing to put themselves put their effort in it. It's worth noting that this entire website exists because of Electus Matari, Minmatar loyalists. So there is that. Normally, I would say the Minmatar and the Amarr are probably the more hardcore RPers, where the Minmatar are more the hardcore in-game players. But the Caldari, the recent resurgence and I hesitate to even say recent, but really in the last 2 or 3 years, we've seen an increasingly strong RP contingent within the Caldari that are in fact focused on basically accomplishing the objectives of the state. Whereas a lot of the other RPers are interested in kind of the story or more important or broader issues or what they like about the Empire. I hate to be dismissive of it in that sense, but as far as yep, there's a task that makes the Caldari look good and we're going to do it. And the Caldari have proven over and over again that they are the ones that are the most dedicated in that field. However, unlike last time, the Caldari can't choke out the Gallente like they did before. That's why we see good progress by the Gallente side, because the Gallente also have some pretty fanatical loyalists that are willing to work hard, and groups like Aderon Robotics, Convocation of Empyreans, and others who are willing to... we've been getting fleets out there all day long, at all different times. I've been doing stuff solo in the Caldari Gallente Warzone. We've got, hauling services, all that kind of stuff. So there you go. All right. That's as far as what's going on progress-wise. And like I said, actually, one other thing about this is, remember, so here's an interesting thing. I talked about how much the cores are expensive right now, and that is true. But think about it this way. The only reason why the cores are expensive right now is because A, they're useful, and B, there's a competition for them. As soon as the Caldari hit 100%, or even get close to hitting 100%, we likely will see a radical change in the economics of all of this. Because as the Caldari and Gallente get close to completing their tasks, suddenly those stellar tech research things go from being this commodity that everybody that is very valuable because people are competing for it, to something that pretty soon somebody's going to be holding the bag. I suspect that you probably will see a pretty quick sell-off to help finish the end of those that cycle, right? Like, especially when the Caldari finish, at that point, you either sell it to the Gallente for whatever they're buying it for, or you don't do anything, which is a good point, right? If you want skins, it's worth noting that if you want the rewards from the event and you have not chosen a side yet, you can choose any side you want and not necessarily progress their thing, right? So, like, if you want Amar skins, but you want to help the Gallente complete their stuff, the only thing you can't do for points is turn in. However, you have to do something that does appear to accomplish your side's task. So if you side with the Amar, you can only get points by doing relay research stuff. If you side with the Caldari, you can only do stellar research stuff in Amar and Minmatar side. If you go with Gallente, you can do either side. You get the Gallente skins and the Gallente drugs. If those are the ones you want, you can do either side. And remember, when the Caldari complete their task, the only way to get points for the Caldari will be to do the Pochvin stuff. Likewise, you know, same with the Minmatar, the Amar, everybody. It is important to get in there if you, like, right now, points are very easy to get because people need these cores churned out quickly, you know, all that stuff. In fact, if somebody wants points, especially if you're in the convocation, come message me because we need cores to be cranked out. A lot of us already have our points finished. But again, as this completes, this is going to suddenly take a total reversal where now the only way to get these things are going to have been participating in this event. And it does complete. So there's that. Anyone can still turn in for no progress for boxes, though? No, that's what I'm saying. I don't think that that's true. It's just like right now, you can't turn in Stellar Research Tech to Caldari. They don't need it. As soon as the Caldari complete the Stellar Research Tech, they will no longer accept Stellar Research Tech, and their sites will now start spawning Stellar Research Tech. So then, Caldari will be spawning both Stellar Research Tech and Transport Tech in their space. What is the best site to run for points? Honestly, Data or Salvage, because, like, if you want to run the sites for points, you want to do it solo. The vast majority of points comes from manufacturing and turning in of the data cores. So if you have basic industry skills and Science 5, you can crank out cores for 15 points per core. And even if you don't, you can still turn in if you side with the side you want to turn into for 150 points per 10 cores. It is worth noting that you can turn in for the wrong team. My character who sides for the Caldari did turn into the Gallente today. She didn't get any points from anybody, but she did get the crates. Yes, you team up with somebody who completed the reward track already. That's what I'm saying. There are plenty of people that if you have the capability of manufacturing these cores right now, if you need the points, you can just grind these cores all day. Like, I'm not joking. Yes, you can turn in the crates to anybody who will, you can turn in for the crates to anybody who's still accepting that tech, regardless of which side you are on. You can get the skins from the boxes, but not the penumbral shadow skin. Those are only from the track. I found that on average, we get about 100 million ISK per can, or per turn-in. But when we turn in about 10 to 11, those of us who have been slightly lucky have gotten at least 200 million ISK worth of stuff. Generally speaking, if you're lucky, you should get at least 100 million ISK per can worth of just tokens. And then all the drugs and skins and all that stuff on top of that is on top of that. How many data cores to complete the track? You know, we could find that out real quick. Hold on. Let's do some math. Or let's count, rather. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so they're in sets of 3. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30, 33, 33. So 3,300 points divided by 15. So you'd have to build 220 cores, or half that if you also turn them in. That's just including the 15 points for crafting. Or, you know, here's the thing though, like, if you want to make a name for yourself, Eve is all about your stories, right? This graph will probably always exist from now on. This is now an event that is happening, and it'll... Please don't be the school. When data cores work, are created, and how they're turned in. Yes, if you go to this website, this is my Shadow War Notion page, where I've collected all the different information. I should probably update at least some of this, but I mean, it's all pretty good. Here are the 3 different sites. Here are all the rats that you'll run into. Here's the process of manufacturing. And then we'll get more into the construction phase once we get there. Yeah, if you want to make a name for yourself, you know, obviously the story of this guy is going to be told, but like this is a thing that's happening, and someday this will be a thing that happened. So I don't know how much they're going to like commend individual people during the New Eden News. They probably will. I hope that we get a lot of stats out of this stuff, and it could be a lot of fun. But either way, this mark will forever exist. If you are part of faction warfare from now on, you know, these transmuters are going to be a thing. People are going to talk about how they were created. I know that there are people that are actually interested in making their mark. If you have too many titans, for the low price of a titan, you can get your own vertical line on a graph. But, you know, this time make it be a green vertical line. That's all. Well, let's just talk a little bit about what we now know about this whole thing. Overall, the goal here is that you want to build these data cores. You need to have 3 encryption keys, 6 index files, and 100 data fragments, plus 10 Noxium, 50 Pyrite, and a recursive computing module per data core to complete it. We have found that on average, you find these in roughly the correct ratio. Sometimes I've ran out of data fragments. Sometimes I've ran out of index files a couple of times, like as the thing I run out of first. There has been sometimes where they're like blueprints are kind of touch and go. We suspect that the different sites may drop things in different ratios. And if that is true, it's very possible that the large combat sites are the ones that are the better source of the BPCs. But that is largely speculative. But in general, like if you average it out, it averages out to about correct. I went and ran 4 waylaid sites and got enough for 11 data cores, and I got everything. I got exactly the right amount of BPCs and roughly the right amount of everything else. And you know, sometimes you get a couple extra, sometimes you don't get enough. It's basically what it boils down to. What I found was on average, I would get about 3 data cores worth of stuff per waylaid and about 2.5 data cores per site when I'm doing data sites. I'm less clear about the combat sites because those are often those are almost always done by us as a fleet, so it gets split up or whatever, and I haven't really been one of the looters very much, but I think it's closer to like 6 or 7 per battlecruiser site. In the scout site, we'll start with that one first. For the research data node, the thing that is the most unusual thing about the research data node is, unlike other scan signatures, data nodes can be detected outside of the system that you are currently in, and without scanning them. Allow me to demonstrate. If I open up the agency and I go to the encounters, faction warfare systems area, as long as I'm going to the low sec systems. If I'm doing this in the high sec systems, it's more complicated. But in the low sec systems, I can basically check anywhere. Check this out. Odo, which is 3 jumps from me right now, I can see that it has a data node in it. Hazmajala has 2 data nodes. Hikokin has a data node. Rakapos does not. Natoras has 2 data nodes. 4 data nodes in Rakapos right now. Natoras rather. Hiri has 3. Kadama has 1. So here's the thing though. If I was to go to Natoras, I would see, as an anomaly, I would see the small advanced 1, scout Navy 1, small Navy 1, medium Navy 1, large Navy 1, and waylaid state courier. I would not see the data nodes, but what I would see is at least 4 signatures. When I scan down those signatures, I would find these 4 data nodes. So even though you can see them from outside of the system, you still have to scan them down. And also worth noting that once I go to Natoras, I will no longer see these data nodes showing up on this list. You cannot see data node sites in the same system as you via this method. Okay? Now, once you've scanned them down and you warp to it, however, it does create a beacon. It does create a beacon in space, which means that once you have warped to it, anyone can warp to you. Or at least to the beacon. So just like a Plex, right? In faction warfare, a Plex first starts out as an anomaly. But then as soon as somebody warps to it, it appears as a warpable thing in space. Or these waylay couriers, as soon as somebody warps to them, they show up as a beacon. The data nodes do too, so be very careful about that. Now, all 3 of these sites also create a suspect flag as soon as you go in. So everybody who goes in, including you, is going to be suspect and therefore engageable by anybody. High sec, low sec, doesn't matter. All right, so these are the conditions by which the sites operate. So that's the threat. All right, so let's talk about how to run the site given all that. The site itself has several waves of rats that are all, I'm going to go with crows and cheetahs. The crows do damage to any of the 4 damage types, and they do warp disruption. The cheetah does warp disruption, scram, and newts. Yeah, it does energy newts. I don't know why I don't have energy newts. Energy newt. How do you join this? Well, oh, that's a good point. Okay, so if you haven't joined already, then you open up your agency, and in the very beginning it should say faction campaigns. Otherwise, you should be able to go to encounters and go to factional campaigns. There's only one faction campaign at the moment. And then once you get to here, it'll give you the 4 empires and make you choose which empire you want to work for. And it'll show you what skins you can get and all that stuff for doing so. And then once you get through there, once you've chosen a faction, you can do this. But this isn't faction warfare. It's just the factions want to do this. So you don't have to be part of faction warfare to be part of this. It's just each of the factions are competing for this to be completed. So CCP has moved to these factional campaigns, which are these new kind of events that are longer lasting and change the face of the universe in critical ways. So the different factions are trying to build this new technology. The new technology is to the advantage of faction warfare. That is true. But you do not need to be in faction warfare at all to participate in any of this at all. There's no faction warfare component to the actual stuff, except for that's where the sites spawn. When you first get into the data site, you will basically land on 3 to 4 rats that can be a collection of cheetahs or crows, The worst case scenario is you can get like 4 cheetahs. My favorite fits for this so far, actually, let's show this. I've been using an Imicus Navy. I know there's a Heron Navy that has been working too, but this is what I use. I use an Imicus Navy. It's got the probe launcher. It has a salvager just in case I end up going into a salvage site for some reason. It has a micro warp drive and an afterburner. It's got a medium shield extender, the data analyzer, triple power diagnostic systems, and a damage control, and 2 extenders and a purger. Basically, you go in there, and what I do is I immediately launch drones, double-click in space, and hit my micro warp drive overheated. Instantly, you're going to be locked, scrammed, and have that micro warp drive shut off. So then you slam on the afterburner. Because here's the thing. When you first show up into that site, everyone knows that you're just got there. Even if the site didn't just show up, you just went suspect. So everyone knows that you're there. You are near the point where everyone comes in, so you're where they will be, and you are scrammed. You need to change these conditions as quickly as possible. What you do is you burn off with an afterburner, hopefully an overheated afterburner, and prioritize killing all of the cheetahs. But you want to lock all of your initial wave's targets. Within about 20 seconds or so, a second wave will show up. Once you've killed all the cheetahs in the first wave, you'll want to turn off your afterburner and turn back on your micro warp drive, so that way you can kite out everybody from that point on. You'll want to kill the cheetahs in the second wave. You'll want to kill all of the rats in the first wave, including all the crows in the first wave. And then all the cheetahs of the second wave, and all but 1 or 2 of the crows in the second wave. And that's all you have to do. You can leave 1 or 2 crows up from the second wave, and it won't spawn a third. You'll be warp disrupted, but you can still use your micro warp drive, and you're faster than them, so you can just burn off and then warp off if you need to. The other option is you kill all the rats, and I think there's like 5 different waves to do so. So that's pretty much how you control the site, and then you just gonna go around and hack all the cans with the 2 crows, or at least I usually go around and hack all the cans with the 2 crows picking on me. And you just keep an eye on your D-scan and local, and if anybody goes suspect, you know that if you see somebody on your gate and then they go suspect, you know they're on their way. It's probably time to be skedaddling, because remember, they don't have to use a scanning ship. They can use a comet or something. In fact, I got by a comet because I stopped paying attention for a couple seconds. But otherwise, they're pretty easy. You get about 35 million ISK or so per data site, I would say, if you hack all the cans. You can get lucky and get like a 40 million ISK drug in a single can. And like I said, you get about 2.5 data cores from those. So this is the Nimicus that we talked about on Tuesday. It has a NOS, a probe launcher, and a salvager in the highs. Really, those don't matter too much for what we're doing. There's the shield extender. We want a shield extender because their shield hit points will, because shields recharge over time, and the rate in which you recharge is independent of the hit points that you have. Increasing the amount of hit points also increases your hit points per second. We can actually see that if we go into the simulator. We can see that my passive recharge is currently 30 hit points per second. But if I turn this off, it goes down to actually 9 hit points per second. Because when I put this on, I go from 900 hit points to 3,000 hit points. But my time it takes for my ship to recharge that, 269 seconds, does not change. So now my shields have to heal more hit points per second to keep up with the total healing that total his shields in that amount of time. That's how that works. Anywho, moving on. It has dual prop because the rats scram, but I also don't want to be on the point. So I have the micro warp drive to control kind of my distance and stuff and kite around once the scrams are dead. But until then, I have the afterburner to get me as far away from the beacon as I can while I'm fighting. I, of course, have a data analyzer. I prefer a data analyzer too. I know if you don't have the skills, but let me tell you, man, as a hacker, the difference between T1 hackers and T2 hackers are monumental. It doesn't seem that way, but it's huge by the way that the numbers line up. Anyway, Lowe's, just a standard damage control, triple power diagnostic systems. These power diagnostic systems are great because not only do they increase my capacitor recharge and my power grid, so it's giving me enough power to be able to run everything. It's letting my capacitor be more stable, which is fine. But it's also giving me additional shield hit points at the same time. All these things, and if you look, that's a percentage. That, again, magnifies the extenders. Now, in the rigs, we have double field extenders and then a field purger. This is the thing that you're going to have to just kind of test them out and shift them around, because a purger can change the time. So it goes from 269 to 359 without the rig. And then, of course, the extenders changes the hit points. And what creates the highest hit points per second is some balance of those two numbers. So it's worth playing around. In this case, the double extender single purger ends up being the best option. Well, the problem is that we start to get to 33%, 33, like we get more hit points per second, but we start to have problems with our buffer. I found that the double extender single purger is a good mix. Well, yeah. Well, again, it matters a lot of other pieces, right? Because of the fact that actually I would imagine that the extenders or the purgers are probably better across the board on this thing, just because everything else is extending. But I don't know. The math is hard, and it also, you know, you have to balance the idea of like also having enough hit points to stay alive as you stabilize. And I've gotten this guy actually down to, you know, 20, 30 shields hit points or so before, and I have good skills, so I wouldn't necessarily play around with that. All right, so I'm jumping into the target system. There's one other person in local. They're not a suspect, and one of the research data nodes is open. Since the research data node is already open, I'm going to warp to it first, because if I warp to the other one, then everyone will see that I just activated it. In this case, I might be able to sneak in without anybody even noticing. What do you think of Galmel camping Jita? Sounds boring. I don't know. I'd rather see Galmel capture Plexus, personally. Now we get to find out whether or not May Flynn got a trap for me or not. So what I do is I'm going to drag the drones out. I'm going to release the drones, double click, and put on my micro warp drive first thing. Cheetah's going to lock me, turn off the micro warp drive, going to turn on the afterburner. Kill the cheetah. I want to then lock all 4 of the guys. I want to kill cheetahs first, then the crows, but you need to kill all of the first wave. And you want to lock them all first because you don't want to accidentally leave one of the first wave alive and thinking it's the second wave. The cheetahs are dead, so I swap to the micro warp drive and kind of burn off a little bit, killing off the last 2 crows while waiting for the second wave. There's the second wave. I assess it. There's 2 cheetahs, so we're going to lock up the 2 cheetahs and 1 more crow. We want to kill the 2 cheetahs and 1 more crow. That'll leave us with 2 crows. And I am going to pick a node to start with. Actually, let's just start this bottom one. Are the Amara Minsite camps? Well, I'm not 100% sure. The Amara militia does actually seem to be at least somewhat defending their territory, interestingly enough. But it doesn't really behoove a side to defend their stuff so much as getting out there and getting other people's stuff. I want to pull in... Oh, wait, no. Nope. I want to kill 1 more crow. All right, now I can pull them in. All right, now it's basically just a normal data site, I think. I'm going to keep an eye on my shields, though. They should be recharging now. Oh my god, that was dumb. That's fine. Just kind of go around and pick through them. I find it good to actually look in space to see where they are, because there are some obstacles and stuff, so, you know, you can, if you just, like, go approach to the nearest one, that could be a mistake. Oh my gosh. Oh, phooey. Oh! Ha! Yeah, it's T1 and Navy frigate only. The Heron Navy issue can come in here too. And as long as you can just, like, kite out the dudes, you can just kill them all. There's 5 waves if you want, I think. But after a certain point, they stop spawning completely, so... You're free to kind of just do whatever you want at that point. Look at all this rule of 6 nodes. Oh my god. Bingo. It's actually the opposite of Minesweeper. No, the waves aren't really good loot. In the salvage site, the trig ships can be worth it. The Draugrs. Hey. So the number in this game represents how close to you are to something useful. I don't believe in the rule of 8. Oh, so I'm about to use a you know, everybody knows the control tab hotkey, but do you know its younger brother, the control space click hotkey? To quickly unlock things. Huh? Control shift, not space. Shift. All right. Are you going to use the items to create the data cores or selling everything off? Oh, no, I'm building the data cores. There we go. What skills are needed to build the data cores? Industry 1, Science 5, Plasma Physics 1. For Stellar Transmuter. For this one, it's Quantum Physics. Sorry. For the Transport data core, it's Quantum Physics. Hey! Where are you? There you are. And then the last one's dead, or the last can's hacked, so the rats warp off. Now, it's worth noting that after like a couple minutes, there will be new rats that warp in. But that's it. The salvage sites have a central point, or the landing point, which is not near any of the cans specifically, but is kind of among the the 4 cans. Or the 5 cans. There's one in the center and then 1 can in each direction. And there's usually about 3 or 4 rats per wave. In those sites, we see all of the different rats smaller than cruiser. We're going to see the cheetahs, the crows, the hyenas, the manticores, raptors, wolves, and draugrs. The cheetahs are still a pretty nasty thing in the fact that they warp scram, but they're much smaller threat at this point because, of course, you now have a destroyer and assault frigate, and therefore you're able to kill them real quick. The hyenas are basically like cheetahs that are further away. The cheetahs have to get close. The hyenas can do it from a little bit further away. The raptors are basically kind of like a crow, but a little bit nastier. Wolves are just up close DPS. The draugrs are going to be the thing that really spooks people. It's the, sometimes you can get a spawn with double draugrs. Those things are spooky. So basically, draugrs become your highest priority, with hyenas being the second priority, and everything else being tertiary. And it looks like Dutch Gunner basically agrees with me, and Dutch Gunner's been running a lot of the Waylaid as well. It's pretty simple. I like to just choose one of the other cans besides the one that's in the middle, because the one that's in the middle is usually the one that's closest to the beacon. So I choose like a can that's far away from the beacon, and I just go sit near it and let all the rats come to me and kill them. If I see anything spooky, I just start burning off while shooting them. Whatever. You kill all the rats. I think there's like 4 different waves. And then the 5th wave, when you kill basically 1 more rat, all of the cans switch from being large collidable objects to being cans, and you can begin salvaging them. Now, the salvaging process is actually probably for most people going to be longer than the killing process. With Tech 2 salvagers and maximum skills, you have about 35% chance to salvage the can per cycle. If you do not have that, you have less of a chance. We have a few people that have, salvage 3 or 4 and only Tech 1 salvagers. And this can take them a very, very long time to unlock a single can if they are lucky, or if they're unlucky. However, check this out. So this salvager right here, right? Like this is, I have max skill salvaging, all that kind of stuff. And a salvage 2, and I can see that I have 35% chance, like I just said. Here, let me actually show you it. There you go, 35% chance right there. 35% chance. Okay, cool. I have a special Catalyst Navy for Shadow Wars. This one has triple salvage tackle 2s. Those rigs are 30 million each for the Tech 2. You can even work with Tech 1. With those in mind, my salvage percentage is 80%. 80%. These 3 rigs are and this is a flat amount. By the way, you can have level 3 skills and a Tech 1 module and 3 salvage tackle rigs and have a 70% chance to access. You'll be able to dunk even somebody with a Tech 2 if you want to. So I'm telling you guys, salvage tackle rigs are one of the biggest secrets to this event. Yeah, 80% can still take a couple of tries, obviously. Random is random. Yes, you do sacrifice PvP survivability. That's correct. Also, this fit isn't quite right. I think most of them are using Rails for their Catalyst Navy issues. Also, the Catalyst Navy issue struggles to complete them by themselves. I have actually been soloing them in my Retribution by any means necessary. So this is pretty simple. It's just pulse lasers in the top with the salvager. It's got an afterburner, Republic Fleet cap battery, a rep, thermal coating, assault damage control, multi-spectrum coating, heat sink. Probably could even upgrade one of these 2, maybe. I don't know. Small burst aerator, and locust coordinator, which means, of course, if you try to fit this thing and you're struggling to fit it because of power grid, Make sure to double check your energy rig upgrade or energy rigging skills, because these are going to be significantly increasing the power grid of your lasers. Yeah, Retribution is really, really fun. I mean, obviously, I don't get any of the salvaging bonuses that I was just talking about. Like I said, I ran 4 waylaid sites with this thing, and I ran it in just under 100, maybe an hour and a half, maybe. And I got about 280 million ISK estimated out of it, I want to say. So once again, same thing as before. I'm going to open up the agency, and I'm going to look specifically for a waylaid. And I don't need a bunch of them, I just need one. So I'm just... Nissa was close enough. Let's just go. Let's see how that works. So in this case, we're going to be going in my Retribution. It has 4 small focus pulse lasers, 2s, a Salvager 2, Afterburner 2, Republic Fleet small cap battery, A-type small armor repper. You could probably get away with less, but I like it. A-type thermal coating, not as expensive as you probably think it is. It's 2.6 million ISK. Damage control 2. Assault damage control 2, multi-spectrum coating, heat sink, and then locus coordinator and burst aerator. Now, I would probably want salvage rigs on here. Like, I like the salvage rigs on the Catalyst, but I just need this thing to be as combat capable as possible, and just give up on the fact that it's going to take me a little while longer to salvage. Whatever. If I had less than salvaging 5, I'd probably lean way more on the Catalyst side, or Algo side, I guess now. Destroyers. Any reason for the Retribution specifically? Because Krell made a Retribution first. And it has this amazing skin. Yeah, they just announced a whole new set of Galnet skin. Oh, man. What is happening here? Why are there so many squids in the rear guard? It is open. Nobody's in it. But I don't want to fight 9 dudes with a Retribution. Let's assess where they might be. If they're not in 14.3 AU, they could still be over near the Kodama gate, or they could be docked up. Let's check if they're I can't dock here. Wait, I can't dock here either. I'm fucking not safe. I think I'm safe, but I'm not safe. I need to be safe. No, we can't. Yeah. That is even worse. I know, I turned on my repper as I was clicking. But it's cap stable. Caracal Navy issue. Well, that's good. I actually really want to see big things. That would make me happy. Let's see. Kodama Stargate is 23. What's in that direction? Anything? Because I can't run the site until I know what's the heck is even around here. Still out of range. Golly. Fine. Nope. Nothing here. Well, we didn't come here to do nothing. Ship cargo should be able to be sent by postal box to home. Well, no, we said what our objective was. We're going to try it. So now it looks for all intents and purposes as if I've gone in. So if there's a trap, I would have just sprung it. And I didn't. Okay. I know Calmel doesn't care, probably. I just wanted to be careful. It's more if they knew that they had an opportunity to go after me, you know? So in this case, I want to kill hyenas and draugrs first. There are none here, so I can just kill whatever I want. You need to kill several waves, 4 or 5 waves. The last wave, you only have to kill 1 rat. Wait, after all that, you can't figure out what system I'm in? Could a T1 ship do it? We recommend teaming up with someone else, but Navy battlecruisers, Navy destroyers rather, can be pretty successful with it. There's a Thrasher fleet issue that can solo it, I'm pretty sure. The Dragoon does pretty good. Like I said, we've got the Catalyst Navy issue that we use, but the Catalyst Navy issue doesn't really, like, it can suffer, it struggles to solo it, to be honest. Quorum Navy would probably be great. Yeah. It's got a rep bonus. I don't see why not. The big key is that, like, can you survive under cap pressure? And can you kill the draugrs fast enough? Yeah, I'd say so. Two draugrs are nasty. Now I just sit over here, because I'm pretty far from the beacon, and if anything shows up that's spooky, I can just start kiting away. Kill off the points, and then leave. Why is this still long-range ammo? Yeah, the problem with ancillaries, though, is that obviously, as with any PvE, PvE is all about sustainability, right? That's why I don't have an ancillary armor repper. I mean, technically speaking, the Vigil and the Tristan could come in here, but that'd be really weird. I didn't say it was impossible. I said it'd be really weird. There they are. Initiative. I probably could have taken the fight, but it was funnier to leave them in there. I wonder how well they do with it. Oh. Is the Tristan caught? Oh, please let the Tristan die. Oh. Now I'm interested. How's this gonna end up? Typical gal mills running from fights? Yeah, okay. I bet you I could probably go in there. Here's the thing. Typical squids, there's a blob behind them. Okay, so the Tristan's out now. And the Vigil Fleet issue's out. No, those weren't squids, though. Those were these guys, right? Yeah, those were initiative. And an alt. So I probably could have actually fought them. You know what? Let's do this. The problem is I don't have a point. So unless the rats go after them, I can't hold them. Oh, they finished the site for me. Wait, did they completely finish the site? Did they do the cans? Did they... They weren't in there long enough to salvage. Weird. Oh yeah, I'm getting 1v... I get 1v1 fights all the time. Oh, Vigil Fleet issue. Name is Smiley Face. Yeah, especially if you are like if you're in a front line, that's one thing. But if you're in like a command outpost, you can usually get some pretty good smaller fights. The biggest key is just sit in the Plex and wait for things to come to you. You know, this doesn't need to be the time that you demonstrate how hard it is to do a salvage sometimes. Hey, thank you. Hey! All right, well, that was so far so good. Do not open your Scorch containers until you're ready to build. See, here's the thing. Here's how I see this, okay? Like, honestly, this is my take on what just happened here. I did not run away from the fight in that sense. I mean, like, yes, I ran away from the actual, like, guns-on-guns conflict. But let's think about this. What was his goal, and what was my goal? My goal was to do this site as efficiently as possible, and if I could get a kill, that'd be cool. Their goal is to run around and get a fight. Who got what they wanted? This is so I always say the way to be successful in EVE is to fight your fight and not their fight. I knew exactly what I was up to, what I wanted, and didn't let combat lust change that. That's what I'm saying. Like, yes, I did leave the site, but it was part of the grander strategy of maintaining control of the area. Because if I get because when they first come in, they have all the advantages. They know exactly what they have to spring and all that sort of stuff, right? I have a lot of unknowns. So I leave, assess the situation, and then come back in, right? That's why, like, I don't really care if people get on to me about running away, especially if the fight isn't fair. Now, again, that fight I could have easily have stayed in. It would have been fine. But I literally just got, like, they got my icky Tursa the other night by that exact concept where it was like, oh yeah, one dude, and then they literally brought in the other, like, 9. So it's like, okay, that's cool. But the point is that, like, they have all the advantage at first. So the first thing I need to do is be able to properly assess the situation. So to me, the fight wasn't over until they were gone. Like, back when I was doing a lot of plexing in Intaki, I ended up with a policy of I will only fight pirates once. Because here's the thing. Their goal is to get good fights. My goal was to plex up this system. Plexes respawn at a certain rate. It's all fine and good to fight pirates, but at a certain point, by keeping them there, keeping them attracted to me, and keeping me fighting them, I'm actually doing my group a disservice because I'm no longer doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm fighting, I'm scuttling around with pirates in the system. And then when it's the Caldari's turn, they'll just come in and, you know, make even more progress. So I've said that for a long time. I said that when Galmil was winning. I say that when Galmil is losing. Fight your fight. Never lose track of your own objectives. Also, if your enemy's trying to convince you of something, it's probably to play into their own hands. Like, why would you take the criticism of your enemy? Seriously. At best, they have a different frame of mind. At worst, it's propaganda designed to make you make a mistake. Like giving shit to somebody for blue balling, right? Like, sure, on the, you know, you can say whatever you want, but ultimately speaking, what you want them to do is sacrifice their ship, right? Like, it is only in your own best interest, which is why you're advocating for it. Cool. So the site's done. In the end, now I've got 5 relay blueprints and enough stuff for 3 data cores, probably. Let's see if we can get it home. And the combat sites are pretty straightforward as far as things go. All of the different rats can spawn. There's 5 spawns. The last wave is a wave of just a ton of frigates. That's how you know that the battleship is about to land. And then the Panther lands a few seconds later. Once the Panther's killed, everybody warps off. And then you kill the structure, you loot the structure and the Panther, and you're done. It's also, that is a good point. It's worth noting that in the hacking site, when you hack the final can, as soon as you finish hacking the final can, the rats warp off. In the salvaging site, as soon as the cans swap to being salvageable, the rats warp off. You don't actually have to kill all of the rats in either of those cases. Same with the frigate spawn with the Panther. So it's worth noting that all of this stuff that they are giving you is incredibly small. It should be incredibly easy to move at least all of the research stuff that you need wherever you need to go to build your stuff. With the exception of the recursive computing module. The recursive computing module is 100 meters cubed per one. However, there is a new thing that is now dropping in the event sites. You can now rarely get what's called a scorched container. A scorched container contains, among a few other not really things of note, a stack of recursive computing modules that can be somewhere between 3 to 7 is basically the bounds that we've seen of the recursive computing modules. Here's the kicker though. The scorched container itself is 0.1 meters cubed. The contents of the scorched container is somewhere between 300 to 700 or more meters cubed. So what this means is, do not open your scorched containers until you're ready to build with this stuff, okay? Or at least it's at their last destination. But yeah, I think that that's kind of a lot of the stuff that we've learned so far. One more thing I guess that's worth noting. Well, if you need to find faction warfare sites in faction warfare space, there's this image over here to help you out. It's worth noting that the suspect flag basically means that if somebody attacks one of the members of your group, they get to attack them and nobody can give them any assistance unless the other person's a suspect too. So a lot of the actual predators for these sites have been staying outside of the sites so they can pick and choose their battles and split up a group. Because even if your entire fleet of battlecruisers are all right there, and their entire fleet of whatever's right there, they can choose one of your dudes and have all of your guys attack that one dude. And now that one dude is fighting all of their guys, but none of your guys can help in any way. So just bear that in mind. Stay alert, stay alive, keep an eye on your D-scan, and keep with a group is the best option. The labs? All of the sites spawn all of the stuff. It's also worth noting that as of yesterday, we've started detecting people ganking people at the turn-in points. Make sure to go to the turn-in with a hardened drop-off ship. We saw 2 catalysts. It was able to kill a retribution. So just, tank accordingly. Yeah, that's the other thing is that it's really difficult to use like Logi in HiSec for the event sites because a hostile could go in there and just like shoot a dude. And now all of your guys, like all of your remote reps fail. So I take this BPC, right? And it takes 3 of the encryption keys, 6 of the research files, and 100 of the transport relay research data fragment, or the data fragment. So you can see here, yeah, I got about 1.5 for all 3, except for transport relay encryption keys. I only got enough for 1 exactly there. But on top of that, you need a little bit of pyrite, a little bit of noxium, and a recursive computing module. And then it builds, it takes about 30 minutes, and then you get it just pops out as it just looks like this thing. And it even says right here, in order to catch up with the Amara Mimitar, loyalists of the Caldari state should deposit such data cores in the State Stellar Research Center in Onamon, while pilots loyal to the Gallente Federation can deposit their data cores in the Federal Stellar Research Center in Intaki. You can just right-click and set destination directly to there, and that will bring you to Intaki. Does it require Omega to build? I think it might. Yeah, it does. But you can get points for just turning in the cores. So if an alpha can't do it, then they can always turn in the cores and they can run the sites. Once you have the cores, you take them to the other area. Let's just pretend like we're doing that right now. And we'll go shorter, although, you can decide whether or not you want to go safer or shorter. Yeah, I agree. I think that there should be something that distinguishes fortresses. Oof, this place is so cool. Sure wish Edencom didn't live here. There's so much, like, cool stuff over here. Oh, there's strategic materials. Huh. I think that's very cool. Anywho, so as we can see, we have the Federal Stellar Research Center and the Federal Relay Research Center. Remember, there are potentially people camping it too, so we're going to warp out at range. Concord is the true enemy of all Empyreans. It's more Edencom's problem with me. So here's the Stellar Research Center. And then when you land, there's like a structure off to the side. And then this is the thing that you can right-click and access, or you can click on this box, or you can go like this. And then you get up close to it. And then it gives you this. You accept. It gives you boxes. And you're done. Yeah, very much like the gate building event. Well, the structure decloaked me. So I was waiting to see where I was landing before I did. So same thing here. There's the landing point. Over here is the actual turn-in point. People think that the Gallente weren't going to win. We've got catching up to do, but we've been doing really good. Please come help us. The data cores are pretty valuable right now. Very valuable. But 10 of them, turning in 10 of them gets you a lockbox that contains, on average, 100 to 200 million ISK, it seems. I say on average because when I open up like 10 boxes, I get somewhere between 1 billion to 2 billion worth of the tokens that are just worth straight ISK. And then there's skins and drugs and stuff like that on top of that. We are about 3 weeks into this event now, I believe, right? We've just closed out the 3rd week, I want to say, and we're about a little bit under a third of the way through phase 1 for the Caldari. It's hard to say whether or not they've got too many of those jumps left in them, but it's pretty worth saying that about, you know, probably another month and a half or so, month or so, if nothing else changes, we will certainly be entering into phase 2. I suspect, though, based on a lot of other things, there are more twists in store. Yeah, as of right now, the MR are on pace to be last place. Are the sites good PvP? Yeah. Like I said, you can fight in the plexus, or you can fight in the sites, but you can also catch people on the gates outside of the sites while they're suspect. It's pretty good. Like I said, there's definitely been just people like No Forks has been in the MR space area, just killing everybody who they can get their hands on. They've actually got a pretty disgustingly bad, like scary team, and they're not alone anymore, I don't think. Yeah, no, it's bloody out there.